So do you think, first of all, I think at a certain point, Philadelphia, the Ben Simmons Embiid experiment is going to prove to not work.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to go in the direction of one player. Do you think it's smarter to keep Embiid, or do you think it's smarter to build a team around Ben Simmons, where it's kind of similar to you surround him with a bunch of shooters, open up the lane for him, let him attack, kick it out, and build a team that way, or do you build it around Embiid?
I think it's easier to find elite point guard talent than it is to find elite big man talent. So I would actually double down on Embiid.
But what's more valuable in today's NBA?
Well, somebody that can shoot is more valuable than a 6'9" point guard that refuses to take a shot outside of the key. So for that alone, I'm exploring Ben Simmons trades 100%.
I don't know. I mean, initially I thought, no doubt, I agree. But the way the NBA is trending and the way Ben Simmons played against us recently when Embiid was off the court kind of felt like the handcuffs were off. And he really played amazing. He guarded LeBron very well. He was dominant offensively, dominant defensively, and was instrumental. That I was very impressed.
I
with
just
his play.
don't think that you can be. It's the Lonzo Ball syndrome. I don't think you can be an all-star player with such a huge gaping hole in your game, the likes of which we have never seen from a starting caliber NBA point guard, right? So he's going to either need to develop a jump shot, or the Sixers are going to need to explore other options. That's my opinion. Between Embiid and Simmons, I would roll down on.
I'm not saying
double
you're wrong.
down on Embiid.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I think Embiid is definitely the player, but I'm just
Devil's
half
advocate a little bit.
concerned about his focus.
Yeah, no, totally. But I think that is easily fixed. I think that is more fixable than suddenly developing an elite jumper, like an elite outside jump shot.
Just take a bunch of jump shots.
Because it's mental, dog. It's just mental. Like, he has the package. He has the skill set. He's proven it time and time again in various examples. It's there. I think this is much easier to fix than creating a new skill set out of thin air that doesn't exist. You know what I'm saying? I think Ben Simmons is dealing with not only a skill set issue, but also a mental issue.
Well, we've seen players develop a jump shot through the course of their careers, right? Like we saw Jason Kidd do so. People said Michael Jordan did it as well.
He could, but I just think Embiid is closer to the promised land, quote unquote, of being like an elite player consistently than Ben Simmons.
If you don't bring the work ethic, if you're not focused, it doesn't matter. Yes, he has a more well-rounded game as of right now.
Well, maybe. I mean, we're 2 weeks out of the passing of Kobe Bryant. That person meant a lot to Embiid as well. Embiid wore number 24 the first game out, and he said Kobe is the reason why I played basketball to begin with. Maybe he's going to develop that same focus and determination that we're trying to instill in our lives, after this tragedy. Who knows? Like, if there's going to be a time where he could flip a switch or at least begin the process of changing his mindset and becoming more focused, now's the time. So let's see.
For the most part, I believe a player is who we think they are after 5 years. And I think Embiid's been in the year 4 or 5 years, in the league now 4 or 5 years.
But didn't he miss a full season due to injury? So
nonetheless,
you want to factor that in?
Nonetheless, I think still this is his 4th or 5th playing year. Is it not?
I'll have to look it up. But yeah, I think 4th. I think it's his 5th year and his 4th actually playing.
Okay, fine. I think that's what it is.
Let's go to the Google real quick.
But if you do not develop, if you haven't proven, you're I harp back on the comparison versus Giannis, where we see year after year, what does Giannis do? 1 year he's a scrawny kid, but he shows a lot of promise. What does he do? He starts lifting weights, kind of builds his strength. He's like, all right, I need to be stronger versus these NBA men, right?
Yeah.
And then the next criticism on him was that his jumper wasn't good, and he's obviously put in some work over the offseason to improve his jump shot and especially his three-point shot. And you could tell the improvement in his game versus Embiid's game, where it's seen like we've seen in year 2. I think he was averaging 25 plus points, 10 plus rebounds, and he was dominant. I'm like, oh man, if this guy trains and he kills it, he could be dominant. But it's difficult to find. My concern is it's difficult to find motivation when you have everything. For the most part, right? He has money now. He has a fame now. He's doing really well in the NBA. I'm not saying he's not doing bad. I mean, I'm not saying he's doing bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now, there's I think you have to be a little bit obsessive and a little psychotic to kind of be like, no, this is not enough.
Right.
I need to be
exactly
I need
because
to be
let's
cream
be
of the
real.
crop.
Even the people in the NBA that we think of as lazy or that don't have the work ethic, they're still elite, all-world athletes, and you have to have some level of tenacity, focus, discipline, and work ethic to even get to that level. So it's that crazy factor that you're talking about that separates all of those people from the very, very cream of the crop.
Right.
Beyond
I think
that.
to a certain, for example, Andrew Wiggins, and I'm not saying Embiid is Wiggins, but this is an example of a great guy who was drafted number 1 overall in the NBA draft. Right. Has had he has incredible talent, incredible athleticism. People, I remember back in college, I was like tank for Wiggins, you know what I mean? Like,
dude, yeah, he was getting the cover of Slam magazine,
yes,
and touted as this, the second coming of Kobe and all this stuff, yeah.
And the moment he got paid, what do you do?
Yeah, he started coasting.
Yeah, let me just hang out here.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'll put up my 20 points a game. We're not gonna make playoffs, but whatever.
But that's all right. I'll still get my max.
I'll probably
Fuck it.
You know what? I heard the Fiji's pretty nice.
Probably spend 2 months there.
Maybe go to Bahamas, hang out there. Drink some Mai Tais on the beach.
And really, if you look at it, he basically has Kobe's body. Maybe he's a little bit more athletic than even Kobe was. You could argue he's throwing down some
taller.
crazy dunks.
I mean, he's taller. I mean, Kobe in his early years was freakishly athletic.
No doubt, but I think they have like a similar physique, and that's where those intangibles come into play. That work ethic.
I remember one interview with Kobe. I seen this recently, where a reporter asked him, Kobe, I think this was in 2001, and they're like, "Are you kind of impressed about the progress you're having?" And he looks at him. He's like, "Nah," and he starts laughing. It was such a real moment. He's like, "What you mean, dude? This is what I've been training for."
That's fantastic. So I pulled up Embiid's numbers. So he was drafted in 2014. He actually sat out back-to-back seasons because of a foot injury.
Right.
So he didn't start playing until the 2016-17 season when he only played 31 games.
So this is his 4th season.
So this is his 4th season of NBA basketball, but
6 seasons.
He has his 6th season since being drafted, but he has never played more than 64 games in 1 year in his whole career. And that first year he literally only played 31. So I don't know, if you want to even count that.
I mean, that's 6 years. Albeit, you didn't play all of them. You are who you are after a certain point.
Yeah, I mean, I'm willing to give him a little bit longer of a leash, so to speak, with that, just because he dealt with such severe injuries to the point where he didn't play the first 2 years, and then the third year he only played 31 games. Again, I'm interested to see how he will respond to the death of Kobe long term. I think there's something to be said. I mean, we've seen players in just in this first 2 weeks of this aftermath drop ridiculous numbers. Eric Gordon had a 50-point game.
Really?
Yes. Like, players are playing out of their minds, and
except for us.
Yeah, except for us, exactly. They're playing out of their minds, and when they ask them, like, "Yo, what do you attribute this to?" They all mention Kobe Bryant. You know, so I think Embiid still has a chance to
But you
get
see
it
what I'm
together.
saying.
Oh, for sure, I see what you're saying. I mean, he got completely dominated by Giannis the other night and the Bucks at large.
Right.
They got and Shaq was giving him so much shit. Did you hear that little soundbite of him making fun of Embiid?
I heard. I mean, before Shaq called him out, but I didn't hear the most recent.
Oh
one.
my God, it was, dude. Even like Ernie Kenny, all of them were like, "Yo,
So what is
Shaq,
it?
you're being harsh."
What did he say?
He was speaking in this little like mock baby voice, like, "Oh, look at him with his little bandage on his finger. He's so soft out there." Like,
No, he,
kind of, but like, dude, he was going in.
because what people forget about Shaq was he was this fun-loving, goofy guy. But when it came down to it,
Yeah.
he was trying to rip your head
He was
off.
about his business, no doubt. Yeah, for sure. You could never question Shaq's effort on the court for that 48-minute basketball game. You know, practice this and that, okay.
You know
but
what's interesting? Maybe
he
that's
was all about
maybe
it.
Embiid is Shaq, but with a little bit less talent.
No, because I think Shaq was, like you said, he's trying to rip your head off all 48 minutes of every single game.
Maybe Shaq was tougher in the game, but I don't think Shaq's work ethic was crazy, and I think my argument is that Embiid's work ethic is lackluster.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they have similar work ethics. I would even say Shaq maybe.
How many points?
Check this out. Not only think about the level of focus that this requires. Not only was Shaq dominating in the NBA, he was selling multi-platinum rap albums to the public.
Yeah.
He was starring in blockbuster movies in the offseason. He was just a mogul from the moment that he got into the league. So where's Embiid doing that stuff? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so if anything, I think Shaq's work ethic might be, slightly underrated, and just his level of commitment to whatever endeavors that he's doing. And so I don't even know if I would put Embiid anywhere close to that.
Yeah, perhaps you're right.
At this
but,
point.
Yeah, I mean, I want to see Embiid get it together because I think if he does, we're looking at the savior of the big man.
Right,
in the
exactly.
modern-day
I think it
NBA.
changes the entire composition of the league.